It happens once or twice. A Dungeons and Dragons YouTuber will make a odd statement about how two classes will interact or about the canonicity of a particular character and make a build that doesn't quite work with what they are saying about said classes, characters, or just the rules in general of Dungeons and Dragons. And I end up making a response to that YouTuber's video with my own build on that concept or on that character. And I haven't come across that with Pathfinder 2nd Edition videos, because as far as I knew, I was the only one creating the copy and paste style of character for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Until I came across Wisdom Check, who had been doing the same thing recently. And their latest video covering Experiment 626 had one flaw. So I thought I would make my own video in response to Wisdom Check. So, I will have a link to Wisdom Check's video in the description, and I want you to decide who built this character better, Wisdom Check or myself. Shall we begin? Greetings, my dear viewers. It is I, Drehon, and welcome back to Pathfinder Hero Flux. That is Flux, short for fluctuation. And today we are looking at Experiment 626, also known as Stitch, from Disney's Lilo and Stitch. Both the movie series and the animated series. And yes, this is a response to Wisdom Check's video because he made a rather odd choice in ancestry and also in background, but we'll get into that a little bit later. For now, I mostly wanted to go over who 626 is, just as a refresher for you. That way you know exactly why I am picking the ancestry, background, and class options that we will be going over today. Experiment 626 was created by an evil genius known as Jumba. I don't remember his last name, I think it was like Jukila or something. But anyway, he was an evil genius who wanted to create the ultimate biological weapon. So he created over 600 experiments. Stitch was number 626, as his name would suggest. And he created Stitch by combining the DNA of various other types of aliens. So we have an experiment created in a lab by combining the DNA of various different types of creatures. Interesting. So what ancestry would that be? Well, to start things off, we need to go over our stats. We're going with a strength of 12, constitution of 12, intelligence of 12, and of course charisma is also going to be a 12. Since Stitch was created in a lab, we of course are going with the ancestry of Flesh Warp. More specifically, the heritage of the created Flesh Warp. This is because the Flesh Warp are people whose forms were created or radically transformed by magic, alchemy, or unnatural energy. Their unorthodox appearance can make it difficult for them to find a place for themselves in the world, which we actually see this conflict in the very first film for Stitch. He doesn't know where he belongs. He kind of relates to the story of the ugly duckling. But he does eventually find his ohana, which means family. Aunt Jumba actually points this out when he explains to Stitch how he was created during that short clip that first introduces us to the animated series. So anyway, back to our stats for the Flesh Warp. We get a +2 to our strength and to our constitution. We get starting hit points of 10, our size is small, we have a speed of 25 feet, language of common, and we also have unusual anatomy, low light vision, and the ancestry feat. Our created Flesh Warp ancestry gives us a +2 circumstance bonus to saving throws against diseases, and our ancestry feat of choice is going to be startling appearance, which is going to give us the trained skill of intimidation, and we also gain intimidating glare as a bonus feat. For our background, now, there was definitely a few different backgrounds that would have worked with Stitch. Feral Child definitely would have been a good choice if that was the only thing that would have worked. But I decided to go with Stitch's name. Experiment 626, which gave us the magical experiment background. More specifically, I want to go with the resistant skin, which gives us resistance to 2 different damage types. For the damage types that we want Stitch to be resistant to, I thought it would be fitting to give him the resistance to fire and acid. He can still be harmed by fire and acid, but he is resistant to those damage types. We get a +2 to our constitution, and we become trained in occultism and academia lore. Next, for our class, we are going with the Barbarian, giving us a 16 total in strength. Additional hit points equal to 12 plus our constitution modifier. We become an expert in perception, trained in reflex saving throws, an expert in fortitude and will saving throws. For our skills, I decided to go with acrobatics, crafting, stealth, and survival. We are trained in simple martial and unarmed attacks. We are also trained in light armor, medium armor, and unarmored defense. We also get an instinct. I decided to go with Fury, which will give us a bonus feat. For our class feat, I decided to go with Acute Vision, giving us access to dark vision instead of low light vision. And for our instincts bonus feat, we went with Raging Thrower, since he really does like to throw things around a lot, from rocks to weapons to cars and spaceships. We'll make sure to account for that little bit. At level 2, we are going to get the class feat of Acute Scent and the skill feat of Combat Climber, which is going to give us access to a climbing speed. Well, no, that'll come later. We just get the ability of not being off guard while climbing, and can climb with a hand occupied. You must have another hand and both legs in order to climb, though. And with Acute Scent, while we are raging, our sense of smell improves. You gain imprecise scent with a range of 30 feet. Going on to level 3 Barbarian, we are now an expert in athletics, and we get a feat in Adopted Ancestry. Since we were adopted by a human family, our ancestry for Adopted Ancestry will be human. We're also going to get access to Deny Advantage just for being a 3rd level barbarian. At 4th level, we'll get access to the class feat of Flip and the skill feat of Hefty Holler. When an enemy targets us with a melee strike, we will fling our body into twisting somersaults, giving us a +2 circumstance bonus to our AC against the triggering attack. If the attack still hits us, we can step to an open space that's still within the triggering enemy's reach, turning the impact of the blow into momentum. We actually see this once or twice when Stitch is hit by an attack. At level 5, we are going to increase our strength, dexterity, constitution, and charisma each by 2 points. We are now experts in the crafting skill, and we're going to get the ancestry feat of living weapon. This will probably be our bite or our claw attack. Most likely bite, since Stitch loves to bite at things. We also get access to brutality at 5th level. Moving on to level 6, we're going to get our first dedication feat, the Scrounger dedication. And a lot of the dedication feats for this archetype are going to be skill related, so we're going to go ahead and get the first archetype feat in reverse engineering, which gives us a +2 circumstance bonus to crafting checks to reverse engineer a formula from an item. I have to agree with Wisdom Check on this one. The Scrounger dedication definitely works well with Stitch. Moving on to level 7 Barbarian, we are now experts in stealth. We're going to grab the feat of Improvised Repair. We get access to Juggernaut, the Fury Instinct Specialization ability, and Weapon Specialization. Moving on to level 8 Barbarian, we are going for the class feat of Fast Movement, giving us a +10 foot status bonus to our speed, and the skill feat of Inventor. Moving on to level 9 Barbarian, we are now masters in the crafting skill. We're going with the ancestry feat of Mutate Weapon. We have lightning reflexes and access to Fury Instinct Raging Resistance. At level 10, go ahead and increase your strength and constitution each by 1 point, and increase your dexterity and charisma each by 2 points. For our class feat, we are going with high quality Scrounger and the skill feat of Cat Fall. It is to note that we only get the last part of Cat Fall, where we do not take any damage regardless of distance from the fall, when we are legendary in acrobatics. Since Stitch does still get damaged from the fall, and is capable of falling prone after falling, regardless of height, we are making sure we are not legendary in acrobatics. He's still very good at acrobatics, but he's not legendary. Moving on to level 11 Barbarian, we are now experts in intimidation, and we're going to get the general feat of Different Worlds. When I first saw this feat, I thought it was interesting and probably would fit with Stitch, but then I read Different Worlds. Your separate experiences in different societies have evolved into entirely separate lives. Create a second identity for yourself with a different name, history, and background. This identity must correspond to one of the ancestries whose ancestry feats you can select. You gain a trained proficiency rank in the lore skill from the second background you choose, but you don't gain any of the background's other benefits. And you gain a +4 circumstance bonus to deception checks when making a statement that would be true of your second identity, or when disguising yourself as your second identity. You are Experiment 626. but you are also Lilo's best friend. Her dog. It's somewhat believable to other humans, even though you do look rather strange. But overall, you are Experiment 626. A monster, if you will. But to everybody else, you are Lilo's family. And I thought that fit perfectly with Stitch and why I chose this feat. We also get access to Mighty Rage as well. Moving on to level 12 Barbarian, we get access to the class feat of Friendly Toss and the skill feat of Ambush Tactics. I went with Friendly Toss because Stitch has been known to throw friend and foe alike, mostly for the benefit of their friends, but it still counts, and why I wanted it in this build. And of course, Ambush Tactics, we have seen Stitch create a well-thought-out ambush once or twice, and has successfully ambushed certain enemies given the opportunity. You do have to have a lore of a specific terrain, but I think that would be fine to get access to, especially if you were to use it for your different worlds lore expertise that you would get. Moving on to level 13 Barbarian, you are now an expert in Intimidation. We're going with the Ancestry feat of Living Weapon again, giving us access to another unarmed strike ability. Probably the Claw this time. We also get access to Medium Armor Expertise, as well as Weapon Fury and Greater Juggernaut. At level 14th Barbarian, we're going to get access to the class feat of Gunslinger Dedication. We're going with Way of the Pistolaro, which will give us a trained skill in Deception. And we also going for the skill feat of Powerful Leap. Stitch is able to jump rather well, and of course we went with the Gunslinger Dedication because of his ability to use his blasters rather well. And Pistolaro just made sense to go for. Going to level 15 Barbarian, go ahead and increase your strength and constitution each by 1, while increasing your intelligence and wisdom by 2. We are now legendary crafters, and we are going to get trained in performance. For our feat, we're going with Incredible Initiative. We also get access to Indomitable Will and Greater Weapon Specialization. At level 16 Barbarian, we are going for the class feat of Firearm Expert and the skill feat in Craft Anything. Moving on to level 17 Barbarian, we are now Masters in Athletics, and we're going to get the Ancestry feat of Clever Improviser, which will give us the free feat in Untrained Improvisation. We also get Heightened Senses and Quick Rage. At level 18, we are going with the class feat of Oversized Throw and the skill feat of Battle Cry. Level 19 Barbarian, we are now experts in performance. We are going to grab the general feat of Toughness, just like we normally do at this level, and we're going for Armor of Fury and Devastator, just for being a 19th level Barbarian. And finally, at level 20, we are going for an increase in Dexterity, Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma. We are now trained in Society, and we are going for the class feat of Invulnerable Juggernaut and the skill feat of Distracting Performance. What did you think of today's build? Let me know in the comment section below, and be sure to check out Wisdom Check's video on this very subject, and make sure to show him your appreciation. Until next time, this has been Drayhan, and I am offline.